All right, guys, SombraDelPiso back once again with yet another video. Today we're going to talk about semen retention naturally. And I'm going to say that I, SombraDelPiso, have mastered the practice of semen retention. Like, comment, subscribe. We're going to get into it now, right? So let's talk about semen retention in a very, very quick synopsis for the people that don't really understand what semen retention is and just tuning into the channel. Just because I guess they've been perusing through the internet, trying to improve their lives through superficial means, and then went deep into the, down the iceberg and found out about semen retention, which is the singularity point from which all other self-improvement methods come from, right? So semen retention essentially is celibacy, sexual control for a prolonged or elongated or finite period of time. Right, so when I talk about sexual control, it's celibacy. You're not sleeping with anyone, you are not releasing with anyone, and even when you're not reaching orgasm with another person, you are not edging with another person. And most importantly, you are not doing that with yourself. You are not viewing adult film content, you're not edging to adult film content. You're resisting salacious material in all ends, right? And pleasuring yourself to that salacious, licentious material. That is semen retention. That's real semen retention. And so mastery of semen retention, of course, in a world that perpetuates indulgences, that perpetuates immoderation. No such thing as austerity measures. All one must do is pleasure to the highest degree, as much as you can get it at the expense of people and other, your mental health and everything. That's what the world is about. So in an environment, in a dimension like this, semen retention is one of the highest, most self-respecting things that a man can do, because you are rejecting the flow of the world, right, in order for a higher purpose, right? Because you want to gain sovereignty over the self. You want to gain more self-control, more austerity measures on the self when it comes to sexual release. And so mastery of semen retention is incredibly difficult, because if you're surrounded by advertisements, by people, by social media, by actions in general of people perpetuating this lifestyle, and you're choosing to stand against it, there's a lot of resistance that you're going to feel day by day, unconsciously and consciously. And so I'm going to tell you some of the strategies that I have implemented to gain this mastery over semen retention. And this is not going to come about just through semen retention. It's going to come through being open with life as well. I'm going to describe that a little more in depth. So stay with me, bear with me, right? So number one, you need to understand the nature of adult film content. This is the most important. Most people, most men at least, are releasing to adult film content because most men have not, apparently according to empirical data, I bring this up all the time, most men, I think between ages 18 to 35, 60% of them have not slept with another person, another woman, in almost a year or two. So that's something. So on the other end, how are they getting their release? How are they reaching their orgasm? And it's through adult film content, unfortunately. And so we need to understand the nature of this really devilish thing. Dead serious. It's one of the most vile creations that we've had on this planet. I'm so serious. There is nothing beneficial health-wise, mentally, about adult film content. Let's talk about it more in depth. This is how I think about it. I used to think about it when I was dealing with, not watching it, or trying to not watch it as often as I did. And so you need to understand that adult film content is beyond you just going to the website, the URL, and just clicking on some random video and viewing it. It's not, that's way more than that. Remember, we have production teams to create high quality content, which is the only thing that's out right now. I'm sure like these websites function like YouTube, so we have a lot of, the production team for SombraDelPiso is just me. I have like my mic, camera, natural lighting, thank goodness. We don't need a whole bunch of solaria because I'm outside and I have natural light. And a script, I created the script, and so I just delivered everything to you. I'm sure the adult film websites function like that too. There's a lot of user generated content, but for the most part, the high players in the game are companies that have very, very high quality production teams. So these guys have state-of-the-art cameras. They have wonder editors that are masters at the Adobe suite, right? What is the editing program? What is it? I forgot. What is it? What is it? It's not Photoshop. It's the other one. Premiere, right? These guys are masters at editing. They have to pay those guys. They have to pay for the equipment. They have to rent the space that they're shooting the scenes in. They have to pay the actors. They have to feed the actors. They have to make sure, I guess they have to run tests on them to make sure they're not, they're not walking petri dishes of diseases, which they probably still are. But, they just do it, I guess, just for, contract's sake. But there's a lot of money that goes into shooting adult film content, for sure. I'm sure maybe it happens over a day, maybe it happens over a week, but remember, the longer that these scenes are shot, the more money that has to be spent for maintaining all the services involved. And so with that, all of that considered, why is it that on the end of that whole chain of production of adult film content, why is it that the end user doesn't pay for this content? That doesn't make sense at all. Most adult film content that's peddled on the internet is done by those high profile production studios, and the end user is not paying for the content. That doesn't make sense. That should be a huge red flag. What is it that you're paying for? Everyone has to pay. In New York, in the city, in the world, you have to pay taxes. You have to pay rent. If you want a couch, right, for your living room, you have to pay for that. If you want to go to an amusement park, you have to pay for the rides. You have to pay for entry. Everything in this life you have to pay. So why is it that when it comes to adult film content, high quality adult film content at that, you are not paying for it at all? That doesn't make any sense. That should be a huge red flag. And for me, when I was battling with that kind of stuff when I was younger, I was running that question in a perpetual loop in my mind day after day after day. And so that was part of what made me get to this mastery of semen retention in the first place, because that just doesn't make sense to me. And it shouldn't make sense to you either. That means that if that is free, high quality content like that, you are paying with something else. Is it perhaps your willpower to get things done, to have an ambition in a world where ambitions outside of the norm of working a 9-to-5, starting a family, and just living a very, very basic life, is that sort of stifled in this world? You have to, you ask these questions, to yourself. Is adult film content sort of leading to a debilitation of the physical body and the mental body, the mental systems as well in your body? And so you become very, very agreeable, malleable, influenceable. These are the questions that you need to ask yourself. These are very, very important. And so that, with me, just in regard to adult film content, I just don't have an inclination at all to watch it. Seriously. Of course, because of the aforementioned reason, and a lot of other things too, because I want to get to this as well. Maybe, I guess this will be number 2 about how I mastered semen retention. So in addition to the reasons that I listed before about adult film content, number 2, I've had experiences of true intimacy in my life. What does that even mean, true intimacy? True intimacy is, at least defined by me, is when it's not just a simple hookup. It's not just a simple act of intimacy that you have with someone. What it is that you meet someone, and you not only are very, very physically attracted to them, there's a lot of physical chemistry, but there's something about them that you're just incredibly attracted to. And with you, for them as well. The attraction lasts far outside of the bedroom. And so every moment with them, every successive moment is like a carry-on of just this wonderful high energy. And so when you do get to that point, whenever those sporadic moments are that you do get to that point of real intimacy with them, or, just enjoying them, sleeping with them. It's just an extension of that. And you just feel incredibly good. The longer of a period that you have with true intimacy, the more you're not interested at all whatsoever about adult film content, because that is the true intimacy is the real thing. The adult film content is the ersatz false peddled version that a lot of people in the world, a lot of men especially, settle for because they don't have access to the real thing, or they're afraid of the real thing because of what's being perpetuated perhaps on the internet about the the other sex and how they feel about being in proximity to the real thing, true intimacy. Right? Bear with me, guys. This is all a lot of truth, seriously. So think about this, ruminate on this, and just think about how that stuff applies to you in your waking life. For me, this also helped a lot with my mastery over semen retention, because when I had my experiences, because I had a couple in life of true intimacy with a woman, I wasn't even thinking about looking at adult film content. I wasn't thinking about sleeping with another person, any of that stuff. All I did was, I was just thinking about just continuing on my path of self-improvement, trying to improve my physical health, eat healthier, refine my diet, work harder at the gym, learn more, read more books. I just wanted to become a better person just so I can give more to that other person and receive more from that other person. That's all it's about, by the way, true intimacy. So when a lot of men start to get into that realm, that world of the exchange of true intimacy, you're going to realize that there's going to be a mastery or a discovery about a lot of the latent and obscure aspects about yourself that you've never even thought about before. That helps a lot. So we already went through adult film content. We went through true intimacy. Another way that I've mastered semen retention is just being incredibly busy. There's a quote that's perpetuated that talks about the idle hands being the devil's workshop. And there is a lot of truth to that. When you are idle in life, whether that means you don't have a gym regimen, or you're not physically fit, or you don't have any physical routine at all where you're doing calisthenics, even if you don't have access to a gym, or maybe you're too shy to enter a public gym, or you don't have any creative works going on, maybe you don't paint, you don't shoot videos talking about sex in public, you don't fix cars or anything. If you don't have a lot of those extra things going on, those creative works, then the only way that energy could flow out is through the regular means, which is through the reproductive system, through orgasm. And so a lot of men, when they're on this practice of semen retention, they find themselves relapsing because they don't have a lot of other things going on. They're not going to the gym, they're not going outside, they're not using that energy, transmuting that force to make it work for them in the real world. For me, I've always stayed busy. I've always been staying busy. I've recently moved to another place in New York, another apartment, and that's actually due to how I found the place was due to my transmutation of the energy that's accumulated through my practice of semen retention. I was going from neighborhood to neighborhood, asking questions. I was going into apartment buildings, asking the residents for the super, went to go talk to the super, try to build a little bit of rapport in the small amount of time that I had to speak with them. I was basically creating 30-second elevator pitches. If you guys know anything about business studies, it's all about, how can you sell yourself within 30 seconds? So that means speaking in a very succinct way, very terse, and using terminology and vocabulary in a way that's receptive to how you perceive the education level of the person that you're talking to. Deep level stuff that, of course, can be achieved through, practice. But anyway, that was all due to semen retention. That was all due to transmutation of my force and utilizing just being active, being outside in the world. And so when you are active, when you have a hobby, whether it be drawing, rendering, building something, it may not be like something grand like a park bench, or perhaps if you guys are into the sartorial industry, maybe it's not as crazy as sewing a Celine shopper bag. Right? If you could do that on your own, that's really impressive. But I'm saying that you need to have a personal hobby. You need to be active, use your hands, move around, be in the world, do things. The more you are active creatively and physically as well, the less impulses you have to release on your own, or to find a way to deal with that energy inside of you. Everything is moving. Energy is in motion all the time. And so being sedentary, being a blockage for the flow of that energy, is not conducive to the proper utilization and the maintenance of that energy. And so for me, in addition to how I found the place, the apartment that I live in right now, being active and not being sedentary, I do a lot of stuff with YouTube. I shoot a lot of videos. I do my own editing. I go to the gym 5 times a week, do a lot of deadlifts, compound exercises, squats. We had leg day today. I did my little squats. You know, we start off 5 sets of the barbell squats. We start off with 225. We went to 315. Blah, blah, blah. It does absolutely a lot for me. By the way, it's a lot of maintenance. But my point is that I stay active. I try to stay involved in the world. When I'm outside, I try not to be contained. I try to be very, very open. I don't use headphones usually when I go to the gym. Contrast to a lot of other people. And that's not saying anything negative about them. It's just that I prefer, and even outside the gym, I don't use headphones either, because I prefer to be alive. I prefer to be active. I like to know the conversations that people have around me. It makes me, because I have this undying, perpetual interest in people. And so I just want to understand what their current sentiment is at any given day of the week. But that's part of how I mastered semen retention. I stayed active. I stayed present. I stayed involved. And if you aim after the same things, I promise you that eventually the idea of relapsing on your own is going to be not even an afterthought. It's not even going to exist in your mind. And so we brought up these 3 things, just being involved, having a creative, a physical hobby, avoiding adult film content by understanding the true nature of it, and true intimacy as well. So we went through a lot of things. Of course, I like to go more in depth in Patreon, because obviously Patreon, you could say whatever the heck you want, and you don't have to be regulated by YouTube. So you guys could join me there. If you like, the link is going to be in the description below. But this is all I'm going to talk about in regards to my top 3 practices for how I mastered semen retention. So guys, if you guys enjoyed that kind of content, like, comment, subscribe, share the video with some peers. Listen, don't ever let this place get you down. We have since the whole beginning of, Reddit and threads and whatnot, and the talking of celibacy on the internet, I think a lot of people we had more people struggling with it. We have people reading a lot of material. We have Montauk Chia, we have Napoleon Hill, these authors that, what's the other one? Bernard McFadden, right? That spoke a lot about celibacy. Samuel Onweor. I know a lot of these authors because I was battling with this whole issue of being sexually controlled for a very long time. And so I understand all the journeys that you guys are going through too, personally. I understand all of the mishaps, the checkpoints, and not being in a nebulous state of where you really stand with self-mastery in regards to sex. I understand it. I've been through it. It's like what Loki said in the end of season 1 about Kang the Conqueror. He sees everything. He knows everything. It's complicated. But the whole idea is that, in reference, just to build upon this metaphor, Kang has also lived through everything. And so he understood and knew how to deal with everything. And so I have experience. So if you guys have any other questions, send some stuff to my email, SombraDelPiso@gmail.com. I will try my best to help you. I have a consulting service. I have a accountability partner program. Check all those things out via the email. Ask me about them. So like I said, don't let this place get you down. Stay radiant, guys. I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Woo!